guys. Doc Danny here with the PT Entrepreneur Podcast. And today I'm going over my top 3 lessons learned from this past live event that we just ran with our mastermind group. So for those of you who don't know, I own a company with 2 partners that's called Physical Therapy Biz. Physical Therapy Biz works with cash and hybrid practice owners all across the country and even internationally. We have a couple Canadian practices that are in our mastermind, and we've worked actively with people in a number of other countries as well. And what we do twice a year is we get together with our mastermind group, which is basically the group that we work with on an annual basis. So every year, we will work with, to date, we have 200 active businesses, but we've worked with a few hundred in that program that are sort of in and out, that are alumni of that program, but 200 currently. And twice a year in that program, we get together and we do an event. We do a business development event. And this year we did it in Atlanta, which was a lot of fun because I didn't have to travel, which was great. But also the area we did it was great. It's where the Braves play. It's called the Battery. There's a hotel right there. We actually went to a Braves game on Wednesday, and then we had our full event, which is basically we do a workout together at 6 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. We start our day at 8. We go all the way until about 5 o'clock with actual work that day, and then from 6 until about midnight. For some people later, we go out and have dinner and hang out and go to a place which is basically just like a big bar with like a bowling alley and darts and ping pong and all kinds of stuff. There's a fun place called Punch Bowl Social. So the second day we do mainly content and work through some things that we're working on. We do some small group work as well, where we involve our guest presenter. And our guest presenter this year was actually Megan Brown, Megan Brown is a physical therapist in the Alexandria, Virginia area that owns Mind the Mat, Pilates and yoga. She was awesome. One of my favorite guest presenters that we've had so far. If you guys are not familiar with her stuff, definitely go check it out. But what I like to do after these live events is I like to get my brain power back first, number one, but I like to think about big lessons learned. And I like to share those with you guys, because if you can't be there, this is my sort of next best way to sort of help you along your journey. And if you were there, then hopefully this helps you sort of consolidate some of the things that happen, because there's so much going on. I mean, there's so many people to meet. There's so many conversations that are being had. There's so much information that, we're sharing with you. We've worked on really hard and curated to be able to share to hopefully improve your business. But ultimately, it's a lot, right? I mean, imagine being new to this community, walking into a group full of, it's 200 people. So, some of the nicest people in the world, like the most open people, but even still, it's a bit intimidating to walk into a room full of 200 people. And, so it can definitely be challenging, especially if you're newer to the mastermind. It's your first event. It's overwhelming. So I always like to try to break these down. And I have 3 lessons that I learned that I took away from this event. And I want to share those with you guys. So number 1, the first thing is imposter syndrome exists at every level. So I'll say that again. Imposter syndrome exists at every level. And this is based off of a conversation that I had, a couple conversations that I had. The first one being someone that was brand new to the mastermind. They'd only had their business for about 6 months. And we were having a conversation, and they said something to the effect of, I just feel like I don't even belong in this room. I feel like everybody is so far ahead of me. Like, why am I here? I feel, like they have imposter syndrome. They shouldn't be there. And I've felt that way in many instances with business in particular, as I started to get involved in business groups. And it's an interesting place to be. You feel like you're on the JV squad. You feel like you're on, somebody gave you a scholarship because they felt bad for you. And what you don't realize is everybody starts there. You have to. you can't skip the line and go straight to having like business knowledge and experience. You have to earn that, and you, in a lot of ways, by working with a group like ours, you are skipping the line in terms of mistakes and learning a lot of the wrong things, but you still have to earn, your stripes in a lot of ways, because like being in the trenches is the only way to understand what some of these people have gone through and what they're experiencing, and just how challenging starting and running a business, can be, but also just how personally rewarding it is as you have to develop yourself as your business grows. So, that was an interesting conversation, because relatively soon after that, I had another conversation with somebody that is a more senior member of our group. They have their business is like over $500,000 a year in annual revenue. And what they said that I thought was interesting was they felt like, because let me, I guess, take a step backwards. So we actually have name tags that are different colors, and those colors correspond with where your business is at on a spectrum of gross revenue. So from $0 to $100,000 in gross revenue, you have a white name tag. From $100,000 to $250,000, you have a red name tag. From $250,000 to $500,000, you have a green name tag. From 500 to $1 million, you have a black name tag, and $1 million plus in your business in terms of annual revenue, trailing 12, is a gold name tag. So this person had a black name tag, and they were having people that had name tags that were like white and red and green come up to them and just pick their brain about stuff and ask them questions about their business. And this person said, I just don't feel qualified to give anybody business advice. I feel like I just don't even know enough about what I'm doing yet. Like they just don't feel like they had their sort of processes dialed in as much as they would have liked to be able to feel like they were in a position to explain to somebody else. And I actually think that's just a sign of humility, is all that is. This person's obviously accomplished. They've obviously done a really good job in growing a cash practice to, over between $500,000 and $1 million a year. And they felt unqualified to give advice to somebody that was asking that was, less than half the size of their business. And that's because, there's humility associated with what you don't know once you learn more about business. Like there's so much I don't know about business. And I started learning more about business. I started to realize just how little I knew and how much more I needed to learn and how much more I needed to surround myself with people that knew what was going on. The other thing is, it's very similar to clinical skills. So think about when you started to learn about the human body. So you go to school, it's a fire hose of knowledge. They are teaching you all kinds of stuff, primarily so you can take the national exam, right? So you can take this federal test and have a license. But then from there, you realize, oh shit, I don't really know that much. There's a lot that I still haven't learned. And to be able to come to terms with that and be like, okay, cool. When they say lifelong learning in this profession, they mean it, because the human body is so intricate and we learn more about it every year, and research comes out that changes the way in which we can get best outcomes for people. And you have to come to terms with that and actually like really like that, to be able to not like get frustrated in the profession because you feel like you're always kind of catching up, but you're not always catching up. You're always learning, and having humility to know, okay, this is what I know now. This is what I understand to be true today. But if something improves and something changes, like I will change my practice based off of what the best practices are based on current evidence and practice research and, and experts that are doing things, typically leading research as well. So you have to take the same lens into business as well. And I thought that this was, somebody that reminded me of just like a senior clinician that just felt like they didn't have everything figured out, but they were light years ahead of like a new grad. And they were just kind of, taking that role within our mastermind and felt like they were out of place. Right. But that's just a sign of humility to me. The last person that had, an issue with this was myself. So, everybody has like internal dialogue, and I definitely do as well. And when I walked into this room, this is the largest number of people we've had at a live event. And every year there's more, and every year I walk into it and I'm like, what in the hell is happening? Like, how did this happen? Because for me, like, it's strange to have, 200 people want to fly in from all over the country, and Canada for our Canadian friends, to come in and learn the frameworks that we've put together, to come in and meet each other. And it's strange for me to have people that want to talk to me, to have people that want to tell me about a podcast they listen to, or a chapter of a book or something, or that want to take a picture with me. I find that just weird. It's strange for me. I'm not necessarily saying there's anything right or wrong about it. It's where I have found myself to be, and I appreciate the opportunity to lead this group of people. But I also feel unqualified to do so in many ways. And, I think it's natural. Like I said, I think it's natural, and I think it's a healthy thing, because there's a fine line between being confident and being arrogant. And I feel like the difference is, confidence has humility. Arrogance lacks humility. And for me, this sort of internal dialogue of like, what the heck are you doing, man? Like, why are you here? What qualifies you to do this? This is a massive amount of people, but also there's pressure in a way where these are not my businesses, right? Like, if I run my own business into the ground, that's on me. If I put together information or give recommendations, or, I influence somebody in a way where that drives their business the wrong direction, that's their business. There's far more pressure, and I feel much more of a sense of, protection for these people than I even do with myself, because I never want somebody else to be in a bad spot because of something that I may have said or something that I may have put together. So it forces our team to put even more effort into what we're doing, because of how much we appreciate and trust these people with what we are teaching them. And that is something that, in a lot of ways, puts me in a position of being an imposter, right? But knowing that I'm willing to work to improve, to help, be the leader I need to be for the people that we work with. So, if you have imposter syndrome, that's not abnormal. In fact, I think it's abnormal if you don't. I think it says more about you if you don't than if you do, because I've also run into people where they're overly confident and they shouldn't be. They feel like their skill set is better than it is. And those are typically people that have lacked any sort of negative implications because of the decisions they've made. Usually, once you've learned something the hard way, you're a little bit more objective of the things you say and the way in which you make decisions. So if you have imposter syndrome in any area, I don't think it's a bad thing. I actually think that that's a sign that you're a healthy, rational human being. Number two, take the high road always. So number two, take the high road always, or always take the high road. I guess grammatically maybe is better. Anyway, take the high road. Megan Brown, who is our guest presenter, she told a story. She actually did an amazing job with her presentation. It was the story of her entrepreneurial career, which I thought was great. I think she had kind of sort of like something that she touched on for everybody in the room, because it's kind of hard to put together the right information for 200 people that are at vastly different stages in some cases in their entrepreneurial journey. And she did a great job of it. What she did that I thought was awesome was she tied stages in her journey to songs and had basically a playlist of her entrepreneurial career, which was so great. But one thing that happened that she brought up was a instructor who was her general manager that was the person that she'd taken under her wing for a couple years, taught her how to run the business, taught her how to teach classes. To make a long story short, this person basically decided that they were going to just open their own yoga, or open their own Pilates and yoga studio right down the road from her, basically, and steal all of her client list and use that to market for her own business, right? And as Megan told the story, it was obvious that it was like, a really shitty thing that happened to her. And what she said was, she went back and forth, legal action, whatever, lots of things. And what she said was, she decided to take the high road. She decided to focus on her business. She decided to not, focus on this other person's business, not to pursue them legally or any of these things. And eventually that person ended up kind of failing at what they were doing. And their business went under, their business failed. And I think that for many of you, you can be on both sides of this, okay? Because we had something similar happen, not to the extent that Megan did early on with the first staff member that we had. And when you have somebody go a mile or so down the road and reach out to prior customers, prior clients, to let them know you're going somewhere else and that they should come see you there. And for us to see those emails, because we own the email account, so we could read everything probably without this person knowing, like, that actually was really hard for us. I think that more than anything, it frustrated us because we had spent so much time with this person. And I don't expect anybody to stay in a business if in their heart they want to go do their own thing. But if they do, and if this is you, if I'm talking to some of you that are thinking about doing your own thing as well. If you're thinking about doing your own thing, go do your own thing. Like, don't cannibalize the business that you're at because you're scared of the start that you may have that might be a bit slower if you don't do that. But that is not the high road. The high road is to go, like, build your business on your own. When I moved to Atlanta, I didn't have a list of people that I could reach out to that I had worked with. I didn't have resources like that. We had to build it from the ground up. It would be equivalent to me going and, like, I taught for Kelly Starrett's group for years. And if I decided I want to start a Con Ed group, my own Con Ed group, and then I took all of the contacts that they had and I reached out to them to let them know that I was starting my own group that was basically very similar and I was going to teach very similar things, I would be a complete asshole, right? I would be a real jackass. And I would never do that, ever, because I have too much respect for the person that is a mentor of mine. But when people are scared, and this is something that I think we have to give people some grace as well. When people are scared because they are cutting the cord on a paycheck and they're moving on to start their new life and to start this business that has to support their life, it is scary. And if you don't know when or where money is coming in, you're probably going to make a lot of decisions that are based in fear, not based in what is the right thing to do. Because I think if we all had a conversation about what's the right thing to do, we would do it. But when things are scary and people are afraid, they think for themselves over everybody else. And I understand that, and that's okay. But as you go forward in your career, as Megan brought this up, I thought about myself, I thought about my wife. And, we've had a handful of people that I would say locally that have just really not done the right thing for us and our business, even though we have gone out of our way to do the right thing for them. And sometimes it sucks. It sucks to constantly be like, why are we playing by the rules and other people are not? Because it's harder to do that. it's harder to do the right thing and be, have integrity, unwavering integrity with the decisions that you're making. But I can tell you this much, where we are currently, we've far exceeded our expectations when I left the Army. And I think a lot of it has to do with the way that we decide to carry ourselves, with the way that we decide to interact with people and the decisions we make, and the decisions we make to take the high road to do the right thing every single time, regardless of what that does for our business or doesn't do for our business or with other people. And I highly recommend you do the same thing, whether you are exiting, you have somebody that you have a disagreement with, or you don't see eye to eye, or it's local competition potentially. Like, do the right thing. You know what the right thing is. Take the high road. You're always going to end up in a better place because of that. Because remember this, you get one reputation, just one, and it goes everywhere with you. And I can tell you, when people reach out to me and ask me about certain people that that we have worked with, we've had interactions with, and it has not been a very positive one, I'm not going out of my way to badmouth anybody, but I'll give you my honest opinion if this is someone that you're deciding that you want to try to do some work with, because of how they have interacted with us. And other people are doing the exact same thing. So keep that in mind. You have one reputation, take the high road. Number 3, this is a big one for anybody running workshops or events. Give people everything that you have. Give people everything that you have: time, energy, attention. When I was running the mobility WOD courses for the Starrettes, one of the things they told me was, we expect that this is the time in which you're teaching a course. We also expect that you get there early and you meet and say hello to every single person that comes to the course. We also expect, unless it's a Sunday night and you're flying out close to when the end of the course is, that you stay and you answer every single question that every single person has. And when I was training with Kelly, I noticed this because I remember being at the Rogue facility in Columbus, Ohio, and Kelly was teaching a course. And it was one of the first ones I was sort of at as an assistant instructor as I was learning how to teach this program. And when the course ended, he stayed for 2 to 3 hours. There was about 50 people that were there, 2 to 3 hours to answer every single person's question. There was a line that was probably 20 people deep. And think about this for a second. He stayed to answer everybody's questions. What about the person at the back of that line? They stayed to get one question answered by one person that they probably drove who knows how far just to talk to. And I remember just how mentally exhausted he would be, just like brain dead. Didn't want to talk after an event, didn't want to talk after a course. I totally get it. I get it. Having been there, in a number of different ways at this point, but the amount of energy that takes, the amount of attention that takes, the amount of being intentional about making that decision, he could easily be like, all right, guys, course is over. I got to run. I'll see you guys later. He didn't build his reputation off of that shit. He built it off of being the guy that's sticking around for 3 hours. It's going to answer every single question that you have until the last person leaves. And when we teach workshops, or when I was teaching a lot of workshops, I took the exact same approach to all the workshops that I taught. I would show up early. I would say hello to everybody. I would try and remember everybody's names as best I could, which can be really hard, but at least trying. And then I would stick around. I would answer every single person's question for as long as that took. And that makes such a big difference. If you're not doing that at a workshop, at a local event, you should be, because it's going to show people just how much you care and how much effort you're putting out. And that is a rare thing. At the events that we have, by the end of these events, I am like basically a useless human being for a day or two afterward. I mean, I can't make a decision. I can't have a meaningful conversation. I just sit there I'm tired, you know? And for me, when we're at these events, I'm not there for any other reason but to be a part of the community, to meet people, to spend time with people, to give them my time to answer questions. And I didn't get a chance to get around to 200 people and have a conversation with every single person, but I sure as hell tried. And for me to go and just say hello to people that I haven't been able to connect with yet that are coming in, to our business. Cause we have 18 people in the company now that are helping with all the operations side, coaching, fulfillment, lots of smart people. It's not something that I can just do by myself, but for me to go and just have a conversation or answer a question, or to stay after the event was over for 2 hours to be able to answer questions for everybody, and make sure that they got their question addressed, because who knows, maybe they came in, just had that one question they want to talk to me about. And, and if you blow them off, or if you're in a rush to get out of there because you're tired, like you're looking at it the wrong way. You got to be there for other people. You got to give them 100% of what you have. It can't be 50% of your attention. It can't be 50% of your effort. It has to be everything. You have to be just very selfless with your attention, your time, and your mental bandwidth. And if you do that, if you can do this, and I'm talking about in a context of like a big event, right? But if you can do this, even with 5 people at a workshop, and they feel that you're there for them. They feel that your attention is 100% on them. Like, how rare is that for somebody to actually listen to you? Not listen to you so they can wait to then say the shit they want to say, but listen to you. Listen to what you're saying. Think about what you're saying. Give you their opinion on something, with something that's bothering you, or they're a subject matter expert on that. That is a very rare thing. Even if you go to a medical visit, it's still a rare thing. They're typically so scattered and thinking about all the other visits they have and documentation they have. Like, that locked in presence is such a hard thing, a difficult thing for people to find, but not a hard thing to do. It takes intention. It takes you doing this on purpose, and you giving your energy, your attention to other people. That is the currency that will pay you back 10x if you're willing to do that. It is a very difficult thing to do, but it is very, very worth it, very effective. And people are worth it. People deserve that. They deserve your attention, because if you want them to be a client of yours, or if they are a client of yours, keep in mind, they put food on your table. They pay for your damn house. They pay for your gas. Like, they're the reason why you have an income. Do not take them for granted. Treat those people the way they deserve, as if they're literally buying you dinner, because in a lot of ways they are. And if it wasn't for them, and it wasn't for their willingness to work with you, or for them to recommend other people to work with you, you would be working somewhere else. You would be back in that job that you hate. Do not forget that. Appreciate your people. Appreciate them. And give people everything that you have. That's number 3. So in summary, when, I go to these events, again, I try to take away as much as I can, and I brain dump it, and then I try to organize it, and I'll share it with you guys. And these are the big 3 takeaways I had from this event. So number 1, imposter syndrome exists at every single level. I think it's a sign of being a normal, rational human being. I think if you lack imposter syndrome at some point in time in your life, you're borderline potentially going to be a serial killer. I don't know. I'm not saying you're a serial killer. I'm saying maybe you could go that way if pushed wrong. Number 2, take the high road. Okay. Take the high road. Ask yourself this. Whoever you respect most, it could be a parent, it could be a grandparent, it could be a teacher, it could be a coach. Whoever you respect most in your life, imagine they're watching you with the decisions that you make with other people. And if they're not proud of the decision that you would make, you're making the wrong decision. And frankly, we all know what the right decision is. We just don't always do it. We know we should do certain things or not do certain things. We let that little voice inside ourselves say, it's okay, just this one time. Or, you know what? They did me wrong. They deserve it. I should do this. And that's not true. You know, if you're doing the right thing, have a high level of integrity with everything you do. Your reputation carries with you everywhere you go. So take the high road. And number 3, Give people everything that you have, all your attention, all your energy, all your time, especially if you're there in an environment where you're the person running something, you're the person running a workshop, you're the person doing teaching a Con Ed course, you're the person teaching at an event of some sort. Be available, be there for people. Give them your time, give them your attention. It's a currency that we can exchange, and it will come back to you 10x if you really, really give it to them selflessly and ask for nothing in return. So that is 3 big lessons that I have for you guys from the mastermind. So as always, I really appreciate it. If you're listening to the podcast, longtime listener, thank you so much. If you are new to this, welcome. We're trying to help cash and hybrid practices, grow. We're trying to add $1 billion in cash revenue, annual revenue to the industry, to a already $40+ billion industry, physical therapy in particular, but clinically across the board. That's our goal. We have a long way to go. We need a small army of people to be successful to do that. I hope that you're one of them. So guys, as always, thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you next time.